Well, I think that, increasingly some aspects of the online sort of music criticism world are resembling print media anyway. Although I think the good thing is that usually you've got a little bit more space in which to express an opinion. So that's good. And word length is just so important. The more word length you have, the more you can be quite unusual or idiosyncratic in the way you're trying to approach a topic.
Well, and I also think that plays back into what we were talking about with how much time you have to live with an album. In some ways, when you have more space to talk about it, you kind of, that thought process happens within the writing of the review. You don't necessarily need 7 days to come up with the idea, because by the time you've gotten to the end of, say, 1,500 words,
But how many words do you think people physically read online?
That's a good point. And I'm not trying to say that reviews are better if they're longer. Someone like Robert Christgau writes fantastic reviews and they're about 2 sentences long. And there's other people who write 10 pages and it's the most dire, painful, torturous bullshit you've ever heard or read. But I think that generally speaking, most people struggle to come up with something interesting to say in 100 words. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people struggle with 350, the capsule review. And that is one of the great things about online. I think one of the main issues is that kind of grey area between what's printable. I suppose that's a term that editors of actual paper things that you can hold in your hand would use. A recent one that springs to mind was a review in Mess and Noise, which was online, became a print thing, was absorbed back into, its web presence. And it was a review of Dan Kelly and the ukuleles at Golden Plains. Started out okay. And then in the middle, there's this section that says, "But then came the storm, the shit storm, if you will, and it took the ungodly form of the atonal ukuleles. Not hot, can't sing, played the recorder, hardly even touched a ukulele. Look, the salvo uniforms looked okay, I guess, but weren't a patch on the side boob bearing ball gowns they donned last time." Thank you very much, Nick Hilton. And rightly, people were furious about it, and I guess that's the other thing about online, there's that instant feedback loop. But I don't think that would get printed in a so-called real magazine, and I wonder whether that freedom online sometimes goes a little bit too far. Not because that's necessarily bad writing, it's just pointless, irrelevant, sexist bullshit, You could have cut that out of the review and it would have been quite good if, an overly kind of showy piece of, hey, I'm hip writing. We've all been there. But, yeah, when there are editors online, it's not as though you're just shouting into a drain. But I don't know whether there's that kind of writer-editor relationship.
Well, can you, name for me 5 websites? Well, put you to the test here, because I've maintained since I became aware of the internet, in the 90s, that the internet is the toilet bowl of human thought. So, and as although there are websites that I consider are crucial reading, at the same time, I don't think they're necessarily good reading. Can you name 5 that are consistently as good as, I don't know, a certain magazine that just died? Just.
I suppose it depends what you mean by good. Pitchfork, Tim, you write for them, we should say.
I'll recuse myself.
That's the classic point of contention with online music criticism.
I almost feel like Pitchfork's an anomaly, but I'll let it through the gates.
Well, Pop Matters. Pop Matters is fantastic. Extremely long form, very in-depth pop cultural thought. They have a lot of columns, a lot of that kind of stuff. Stylus, which I used to write for, rest in peace, was very good too. I think
I tend to go for really kind of individual blogs where you've got a particular voice, really having the space and the freedom to express something. 90% of them are going to be useless and not worth bothering with, but that's really where you're going to see people stretch themselves and go into areas where most music magazines can't.